Boom. What's up, everybody? Couple Casuals Podcast. I'm your host, Stefano. This is Quick Rips, episode number 5. What are we doing? What the fuck are we doing still, guys? Like, think about this. Do you guys ever just stop and think and just be like, holy shit, we're still in this lockdown pandemic style type of thing? You guys ever just randomly hit you in the head? Like, whoa, what the fuck is going on? Why is this still happening? Any reasonable person can see the inconsistencies, the overreach, and the dragged on mandates and lockdowns in result of this pandemic. We're more divided than we've ever been. People are fighting with their own family members, with their friends. It's so contentious to even talk about certain topics. And where does this come from? You can't even talk. You literally can't even talk. You literally can't even talk about certain things. So imagine that you can't even have a conversation. They're trying to cancel Joe Rogan, for fuck's sakes, with a list of 200 doctors. Most of them are dentists, but they're using that as proof to be like, hey, these people are qualified professionals and they think that Joe Rogan should be shut down. Why? Because he's having conversations. And people why can't we have conversations? Why can't we ask questions? We lost our freedom of choice. We lost our ability to communicate. Not fully. I'm not saying fully 100%, but definitely you can feel. Can we agree that you can feel that it's definitely going down that track? The conversations are not allowed to be had. But where does it start? How did this happen? That we're going to be on 3 years come the spring. And you can feel the vibe with everybody. The consensus seems to be changing. That the majority of people are at their wits' end. They're done. They want to get back to life. People have lost everything. There's certain people that have lost everything. For what though? Why? Why are we doing this? Why are we still doing this? Why are we still in this? I think it starts from the leadership. Of course, you have to think it starts from the leadership. It starts from the top up, like anything, right? In result of policies and mandates and division and snap elections by a prime minister who's been the most divisive figure. That guy, he literally spent the whole campaign trail talking about how horrible unvaccinated people are and how it's all their fault. And then we see what's happening. Everybody sees what's happening. People are testing positive rapidly on both sides. And now you can play any arithmetic game that you want to say that, oh, there's more people that are vaccinated and less people that are unvaccinated, so the numbers don't add up properly. Okay, guys, we can play that game all we want. The point is that we have to understand that it is happening on both sides. Okay, it's not what they promised us. Can we agree on that? Can we agree that it's not what most people signed up for? They said the way out of the pandemic is to get vaccinated. We're almost at 90% vaccinated in Ontario and we're still in this. Oh, but we got a variant. Isn't that always going to happen? Don't viruses manipulate? And what are we to do? Well, guys like Trudeau blame the unvaccinated. Blame them. It's all their fault.
When people see that we're in lockdowns or serious public health restrictions right now because the risk posed to all of us by unvaccinated people get angry.
And what does that do? That creates hatred and division amongst us as Canadians. But how much longer do we want to go down that route? How much longer do we want to hate each other because of an individual choice? When it seems that if we really have our eyes open, they spent many, many months talking about, you're not going to get the virus if you get vaccinated. You're not going to spread the virus if you get vaccinated. We need to stop the spread. And the only way to do that is to get vaccinated. Nobody remembers that. That was like fucking 4 months ago.
You're okay. You're not going to get COVID if you have these vaccinations.
Vaccinated people do not carry the virus, don't get sick.
Everyone who takes the vaccine is not just protecting themselves, but reducing their transmission to other people and allowing society to get back to normal.
When people are vaccinated, they can feel safe that they are not going to get infected.
86 or 90% vaccinated in Ontario. And yet we still find ourselves in lockdowns and mandates and overreach policies. Now you could say whatever the fuck you want, but can we at least agree on the inconsistencies by these certain individuals propelled throughout this whole fucking pandemic? Can we at least agree on that it's been inconsistent and that there's reason for people to be skeptical and ask like, wait a minute, can we just fucking get on with it? Can you just leave me alone? Let me fucking make my own decision. People have lost their businesses. They've sacrificed everything and we're still here. You know, when it first started, we had this thing like I think for the most part, majority of people were right away. We're like, okay, well, we're on this together. We got to do what we can. And then it lingered, didn't it? Don't we understand the virus at this point? Like, don't we seriously understand the virus? Protect the elderly, protect the vulnerable. People with comorbidities are at a high risk of it being detrimental. If you're young and healthy, or if you're a kid, the science indicates that you're going to be completely fine. For the most part, obviously there's cases where that happens. We can't speak freely anymore. We can't question things like, wait a minute, okay, can I make my own decision in this circumstance? I support you in whatever the fucking decision you want to make, go for it. I literally don't care. And that's the majority of people are the majority of reasonable people. That seems to be where they stand. This is them. the reasonable people. I just felt like I wanted to get vaccinated, but if you don't want to get vaccinated, I don't give a fuck. The way people like Trudeau in particular, he spent so much time criticizing unvaccinated people and making them, when at one point he was saying, oh, we can't actually force vaccination. We can't actually, there might be certain people that maybe because of religious reasons or other circumstances, they may not want to choose to get vaccinated. We can certainly encourage them, but we cannot mandate it. And then that changed.
But like I said, what do you do with someone with an allergy? What do you do with someone who's immunocompromised, or someone who for religious or deep convictions decides that no, they're not going to get a vaccine? We're not a country.
What do you do?
We're not a country that makes vaccination mandatory, for example, but we want to encourage everyone to get it.
We just forget about it. It just doesn't it's not a big deal anymore. We have such short attention and memory span. It's unbelievable. Literally, the Pentagon released information that basically confirmed that there's fucking aliens, and nobody gave a shit. Nobody cared. They're still just busy freaking out at people at Fortino's. Like, can you put your mask on, sir? What the fuck are we doing, guys? What are we doing? We're 3 years almost in this, and we're still freaking out at each other about individual choices and these sorts of things. It'd be like, oh, well, it affects me too. It affects you too, right? Okay. So you got your vaccine and you still got the virus. Oh, but I didn't end up in the hospital. But neither did that young, healthy 29-year-old, 28-year-old, 27-year-old, fucking 15-year-old. Neither did they. They didn't end up in the hospital either, and they got the virus. So they're fine. So shouldn't it be up to that individual to make the decision on whether they want to get the virus naturally or if they want to get vaccinated? Either way, do whatever you want. Do whatever you want, and I support you 100%. Just leave me alone. Leave him alone. Leave her alone. We have to be able to make our own decisions because we're going down this route that doesn't make any sense. Can we agree on the inconsistencies? That's all I'm asking. Can we agree on the inconsistencies? That this shit doesn't fucking make sense. What are we doing here? The results of the lockdowns and mandates are worse than the virus itself. People are depressed. People lost their jobs. People lost their businesses. People are overweight now. Quarantine 15, they call it, which happens to be worse for you in combating viruses just in general. Is an overweight vaccinated person at a less likely chance to be hospitalized than a healthy unvaccinated person? We want to stick to the science, right? Does the science not indicate that overwhelming majority of people that contract the virus, that are young, that are healthy, are going to be completely fine? Flu-like symptoms. Can we agree on that? So why wouldn't it be up to that individual if they want to get vaccinated or not? Just up to them. They make that decision. Why is it being enforced? Why are some places like Florida and Texas completely open, but then there's this delayed back and forth, confusing mandates and policies in other places like Canada? Why? Is it different? Is the virus different over there? What's going on? Why can't we just respond with a reasonable approach? Protect the vulnerable, protect the elderly. Individual choice is paramount. How much longer can we do this? How much longer? Because do we understand what's happening? How people are overdosing on drugs, are becoming more addicted to substances like alcohol. That suicide rates have skyrocketed since lockdowns have started. We can agree on that. Everybody knows that. Everybody and their grandmother knows that. So when it comes to that day where you want to talk about mental illness, you can't cherry pick and say, oh, well, I care about mental illness in this case, but on the results of the lockdowns and stuff, well, it's what we need to do to get forward, to move forward. It's what we need to do to stop the spread. Guys, we've done this same thing. We've done it over and over again for 3 years. Lockdowns, mandates, masks. Put your mask on. It's dropping below your nose. I'm eating, ma'am. I don't give a shit. Put it on. Eat through the fucking mask. How am I going to do that? Figure it out. And we're fighting with each other, and everybody's in this mass psychosis where you can't even have a conversation. You can't even make suggestions like treatment. What about treatment? What the hell are we doing? This is literally what they say. Well, if you contract the virus, stay home, stay away from everybody in your house because you don't want to give it to them too, and then wait. And if it gets really bad, go to the hospital. Isn't it too late by then? Why don't we fucking do something about it right away? Is that not in the cards? Is there no such thing as treatments? Because I heard of a couple things that have been working. Those things have been working and people have been using them and it's been helping them. So why wouldn't we consider these things? Why wouldn't we at least talk about them? You can't even talk about them because if you talk about them, you're providing misinformation. But then you see how these things change as time goes on. Natural immunity was canceled on fucking Instagram. You couldn't talk about natural immunity. Now they're considering it. We can't get our information from one certain place. We have to be able to talk freely. We have to be able to entertain different ideas because that's how we learn. Is it not? Is that not how we fucking learn? By talking and be like, you know what? You were actually I think you were right about that. I'm going to consider that next time. I'm going to consider that. And that's what a reasonable person does. As soon as you talk about individual choice, one second, speaking of individual choice, I individually choose to drink this. Now, when you talk about individual choice, a lot of people go, well, you're doing it for the next person. I don't get it. I don't fucking get it. I seriously don't get it. So maybe you guys can explain it to me. You're doing it for the next person, but the next person's vaccinated, right? So they're protected. Yeah, but you need to get vaccinated because we need to stop the spread. But it doesn't stop the spread. But we need to control the hospitals because the hospitals are getting overwhelmed. You want to control the hospitals and you don't want the hospitals to get overwhelmed, but you're firing thousands of nurses because they choose to get unvaccinated. And why the fuck are we still backpedaling with the hospital resources and these sorts of issues in Canada? You can understand somewhat, like initially when this thing happened, it's like, oh my God, we got hit with so many people. We didn't understand it. It was like the elderly were getting sick at rapid rates. It was a catastrophe. But did we not pivot and go, okay, we were short here, short here, short here. We need to add to this. We need to add to that. We need to invest in here. Because what are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do every time we have fluctuating numbers? Shut it down again, lock it down, shut your business? That doesn't seem like a good long-term solution. And they tell you need to get vaccinated because we don't want the hospitals to get overwhelmed. The ICUs are filled. We look at the numbers of the ICUs, the daily counts of the ICUs. Let's give the other day, for example. Okay, I'll give you the other day, for example. 109 unvaxxed and 86 vaxxed. And then they had that bullshit like the other one, we don't know what the fuck they were. That doesn't seem that even compelling. That's not a compelling number. That's the thing about vaccinated and unvaccinated. Now everything is a division. Everything is a side. And people like Trudeau, sorry for yelling, are contributing to that divide. Why? Why are we doing this? We don't have a choice. You have to get it or you lose your job. Imagine that. You're losing your fucking job. What are they going to do if this changes? What if there's no mandates again in a year? Do those people get their job back? I'm just trying to be as reasonable as I possibly can and just open the conversation, man. You're not necessarily allowed to have conversation about certain things. It's brutal. We have to be able to talk to each other about things. We have to be able to have conversations about things that are complicated, about things that are a little bit contentious. We have to be able to talk. We have to be able to have these conversations. And then reasonable people prevail. We got to be able to talk. Lastly, holy fuck, that's good beer. The doctor's got to be able to talk too. You got what's her face over there, publicly essentially threatening any doctor that goes against that narrative. If anybody goes against that grain, they're willing to consider revoking their license. Roll the clip.
I will be sending a letter to the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Ontario, urging them to do everything that is possible to put an end to this behavior. They should consider all options in doing so, including reviewing the licenses of physicians found to be spreading misinformation.
These are professional medical officials as well. There's lots of doctors that disagree with it, but they can't speak. They can't talk about it. They fear to lose their license. Oh, it provides misinformation. It provides misinformation about what you think is misinformation. But maybe that doctor doesn't think it's misinformation. Maybe that individual has read the literature, taken into account everything, and then made a decision that they want to make an individual choice and say, you know what? I feel that I want to go the natural route. Eventually, we're all going to get the fucking virus. I'm deciding to go the natural route. I want to get it naturally. And then once I get it naturally, I'll have natural immunity, which, by the way, Omicron seems to be providing a natural immunity that's paramount. The vaccine didn't provide immunity against Omicron. Obviously, everybody got it. What's the long-term solution here? Because we look at what happened with Omicron. That variant evaded the vaccine. Even boosters, people with 3 shots are getting sick. But it's okay because the truth is that for the most part, the vaccine will help keep you out of the hospital. But if you're young and healthy, you're not going to the hospital anyways, brother. For the most part. Obviously, there's these certain cases where these things do happen. But there's certain cases where people have adverse effects to the vaccine. So it should be up to that individual to decide what route they want to go. How fucking hard is it to understand, guys? If you're a reasonable person, you see what's happening. It's not that you're making the right decision or you're making the wrong decision. It's just that you make your own decision. If you're overweight or you have comorbidities or you're elderly and you don't want to get vaccinated, you have to understand the risks that this can possibly be more detrimental to you than a young unvaccinated person or a young vaccinated person, whatever the case may be. We're fucking just dizzy just talking about this shit. So I'm going to end it off here. When I was young, they told me never talk about politics and religion, but that's all we're talking about now. Obviously, we're talking more about politics now because you can't remove the politics from what's happening. It's political. It's become political. It has been. Whether you want to say that we shouldn't make it political or not, but it has become political because as soon as you bring up a mandate or policy, these are implemented by politicians. So obviously, it's going to be political. We need to move forward. I hope that reasonable people, vaccinated or not, can rise up and start to have these conversations and open the dialogue. We can't do this anymore. We don't want to hide in our basement, but if you want to hide in your basement, go right ahead. But we can't have this vengeance and vendetta against other people predicated off their own decisions. We have to be able to understand and sympathize with other people's perspectives. Guys, let's just go back to being beauties. Let's open it up. Let's understand the virus, respect it, take care of yourself, understand the implications, get vaccinated if you want, Don't get vaccinated if you don't want. Remove the mandates. If you want to wear the mask, wear the mask. If you don't, you don't. Carry on. Individual choice is paramount. This has been Couple Casuals Podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed. I look forward to hearing from you guys and hearing your responses, and I appreciate you. Until next time. Salute. And YouTube, don't fucking take this down. Let us talk, you fucking pricks.